All right, here we go. So we left off last week with Jacob blessing Joseph, and by blessing Joseph, he's blessing his two sons. He's given the double inheritance to Joseph by way of giving the sons equal shares to their uncles, to Joseph's brothers, and his sort of rambling into this blessing. And he continues, he hasn't really blessed them, but sort of reminiscing on where the blessing's coming from. And it now is at the point Hamalach, Hagoel Oti, Mikol Ra, Yivarech et Hanaarim, V'yikareh Vahem Shemi, V'shem Avotai Avraham V'Yitzchak, V'yidgu Larov B'kerev Haaretz. Recall, by the way, when Jacob was introduced to Pharaoh in the other version of the story, and Pharaoh said, "How old are you?" He said, "Not old enough. It's been a really rough life. Nothing's been good for me." And now all of a sudden "Oh, everything was great." So Hamalach, the usually translated as angel, but it simply says the messenger. And the messenger from God, which makes it the angel, Hagoel Oti, the messenger, the redeemer of me. And Goel is both the noun and the verb in the present tense, as happens in Hebrew. So Hamalach Hagoel, the redeeming angel, the redeemer of me, my redeeming angel, redeemed Mikol Ra from all bad stuff. Yivarech et Hanaarim. Now he's talking about these two boys in the third person. Saying, we'll bless these youths, these young'uns. Et Hanaarim, the boys. V'yikareh Vahem.
Yivarech.
Yivarech will bless.
Yeah.
Na'ar is a youth, a young'un, older than a yeled and younger than an ish. Sounds like a song there someplace. I have to check with Paul Simon about that.
Okay.
V'yikareh vahem shemi, and will call in them my name. Oops. V'shem avotai, and the name of my fathers, Avraham and Yitzchak. So my name will be known in them, and my fathers, or my father and grandfather, will be known in them. And the order, by the way, is grandfather and then father.
Of course.
First Avraham and then Yitzchak, setting up the statement of patrilineal lineage, the forefathers, as opposed to literally my father and my grandfather. He says, my fathers and Avraham and Yitzchak. And this again may be from a later period when we have the ancestral Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And by the way, notice we're always blessing in the name of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, not Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael. But it's Avraham, not Avram, so it's the name changed person. Yitzchak, who never changes his name, and Yaakov, whose name is changed to Yisrael, but is always remembered by the pre-changed name. All of that just commentary. Vayidgu laro. Vayidgu, notice the root is dog, fish. So Vayidgu larov, not they're going to do a lot of fishing, but they will be like fish, which swarm, which fill up the area. Thinking of fish that travel in schools and seem to fill the whole thing. So larov, to muchness, to multitude.
What are you talking about fish? Where does fish come in there? Is
The
this a
word vayid
vegetarian?
gu, dog is a fish,
I will make you fishers of men, so to speak.
so to speak. But here I will make you like many fish. You will swarm as a school of fish.
What's Karev?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Normally, the commandment to multiply is to be like a fruit.
Hmm.
Peru uravu, be fruitful and multiply. But here it's yidgu, swarm like a fish. So you will swarm like fish, a multitude of fish swarms. Bekerev haaretz, in the midst of the land, covering the land and throughout the land. So kerev is within or in the midst of, bekerev.
It's a strange metaphor, though, isn't it? To have
It
fish
is.
on the land.
Yes, to be like fish on the land, swarming like
Yeah.
fish on the
Which
land.
which you might think would be, struggling to breathe and survive.
Or be something sort of unusual that
Oh,
you know,
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a striking metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
out of place because you're not of that people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that could
Like
be
a
too.
fish
You're
out of water.
like a fish out of water,
Mhm.
but you'll be swarming along the land like a school of fish.
Can you translate the whole sentence so it makes sense?
Come on.
Well, that's another question.
So a normal kind of translation, a general translation would be my redeeming angel. Start off with putting that into my redeeming angel, or the angel that redeemed me from all evil, from all bad. We'll bless the boys. So in a sense, it sounds like he's talking to Joseph about the two, who, by the way, remember last week, he already put his hands on their heads. So he's sitting there with his hands crossed on their heads, so that his arms have been crossed. His right hand is on the younger, his left hand is on the elder. And he's talking over their heads to their father, who's standing behind them, who's brought them to him. And he's saying, the redeeming angel of me, my redeeming angel, who redeemed me from all the bad stuff, will bless the boys and call in them my name and the name of my fathers, Avraham and Yitzchak, and they will swarm as a multitude on the land.
Is redeeming a financial word or a
It's more of a spiritual or physical. Geula is a redemption. They didn't have S&H green stamps back then. So things generally redemption is fiscal in the sense, because when a person, a
you buy them
relative
back?
has been sold into slavery, you buy them back.
Yeah, that's a kind of finance to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and in a sense, they have been redeemed from slavery in Egypt with the payment of the two tablets and the Torah.
Oh. Oh.
And on Passover, we sing Chad Gadya, the little goat that my father bought for 2 zuzim. The usual commentary is the little goat is Israel, and the 2 zuzim is the 2 tablets of the covenant.
Huh.
So God bought us from Egypt with the tablets. So there's a sense of financial redemption, but again, they were in a society that was bartering as much as they were buying. So there's some form of trade in redemption.
Right.
Verse 17. Vayar Yosef ki yashit aviv yad yamino al rosh Ephraim vayera be'enav vayitmoch yad aviv lahasir ota me al rosh Ephraim al rosh Benasha. And you will notice that here, the right and the left are actually referred to as hand. So Vayar, and he saw, Yosef. So Yosef saw, Vayar Yosef, Yosef saw, Ki yashit aviv, yad yamino, al rosh Ephraim. Ki yashit, for had placed his father, his right hand, yad yamino, his right hand, al rosh Ephraim, on the head of Ephraim. So Joseph brings the boys. His father crosses his hands up. Joseph brings them such that his father just had to stick his hands straight out to do the elder and the younger. But his father crosses the hands, even though his father's eyes have been heavy with age. And his father begins to enter into the formula of the blessing. And Joseph so far has been standing there, and suddenly Joseph looks up and sees that the hands are on the wrong places. So his father has placed his right hand on the head of Ephraim. Vayera, notice the root is ra, bad. So Vayera, this is really a word of anger. One could call it blessing rage. It was really bad, Vayera be'enav, and it was bad in his eyes. So Vayitmoch yad aviv, so now he's grabbing his father's hand, lahasir ota, to replace it, may al rosh Ephraim al rosh Menashe, to replace it from on the head of Ephraim to on the head of Menashe. So Joseph is grabbing his father's hand, trying to pull it off of Ephraim's head and put it onto Menashe's head. Great staging directions for the director of this particular play, because he's not just doing it calmly, he's doing it vayera be'enav. So this is really not good in his eyes. And then he says, 18, Vayomer Yosef el aviv, lo chen avi, ki zeh habechor, sim yamincha al rosho. Vayomer Yosef, and Joseph says, el aviv, to his father, lo chen, not thus. So chen means yes, but chen generally in these kinds of sentences means thus. Not so. Lo chen avi, not thus, not so, my father. That is, why is he grabbing his father's right hand, which is on the head of the younger, and trying to put it on the head of the older, and saying, it's not that way, don't do it. Not this. Not so, my father. Ki zeh habechor, for this one is the firstborn, referring to Menashe. This is the firstborn.
Where's the word firstborn?
Bechor.
But
Bechor is always the firstborn. Tzair is always the younger when referring to siblings.
where's Lahore? Can you show it?
Right below the number 18.
Havachor.
Havachor.
The firstborn. Sim yamincha. Now we're no longer back to yad, hand. Just put your right. Put your right al rosho on his head. And 19, this is Jacob's response, Yisrael's response. Vayima'en aviv vayomer yadati veni yadati. Gam hu yihiyeh la'am, v'gam hu yigdal v'ulam achiv hakaton yigdal mimenu, v'zar'o yihyeh malo hagoyim. Verse 19. Vayima'en aviv, and his father refused. Vayima'en, he refused. Aviv, his father, is the one who's the he. So his father refused. They're having a little tug of war with his right hand.
Yeah.
And poor Ephraim's head is underneath the hand that's being tugged. And Ephraim, remember, is a poor little Na'ar. He's a Ute. So you can imagine, Joseph is pulling Israel's hand, and all of this is being Ephraim's head, little, whatever, 8, 10, 12, 14-year-old boy, his head is being bounced around as they pull their hands back and forth. Great stage play. So his father refuses. Vayomer, and he says, Yadati v'ni yadati. Literally, I knew, my son, I knew. Usually translated in I know. Sometimes probably translated as I know what I'm doing. I really know. But literally just I knew, my son, I knew. And despite all the long-winded speech up to this point by Yisrael from the end of last week to the beginning of this week, and despite all the rather long and fairly rambling text or explicit stage directions text, here just 3 words where we might have said, I know exactly what I'm doing, my son. He just says, I knew, my son, I knew. And he says, Gam hu yihyeh la'am, v'gam hu yigdal v'ulam achiv, akaton yigdal mimenu. So there's a literally, Gam hu yihyeh la'am, also he will be for a people. V'gam hu yigdal, and also he will get big, will expand, will grow. So we're not quite sure who the he is in these cases. Gam hu yihyeh la'am, and also he will be a people. Is that Ephraim or Manasseh? V'gam hu yigdal, is that Ephraim or Manasseh who will also get big or will grow? Is it the Ephraim that the right hand is on, or the Manasseh where the left hand is that's getting ignored in this whole tug of war?
Oh,
Which
And
is
so
small and which is big?
Yigdal will be big, Gadol.
And what was the first one? La'am, he will be the people?
Yeah, it will be for a people or to a people. He will be for a people, and also he will be big. So is that Ephraim or Manasseh? Ephraim who they're fighting over, or Manasseh who's being ignored right now?
Or maybe it's both. One is one and one is the other?
Or one is one and one is the other? And then the ulam achiv, and now this is sort of a opposition statement, but also the ulam, but rather achiv, his brother. Now we know who we're talking about because it's achiv hakaton, his brother, the little one, which would seem to indicate that the fight over the head of the little one, Jacob is talking about the big one, the firstborn.
what is Vi'ulam?
The ulam is a statement of opposition, but rather.
Oh.
So the little one, Yigdal Mimenu, will get bigger than him. Yigdal will grow big from him. And that kind of Mimenu is usually a comparative statement. he will be bigger than him. So based on the fact that they're arguing about the Bechor with the hand on the Tzair, so the hand is on the younger, but Joseph is trying to pull the hand off of Ephraim, off the younger, and put it on the head of Manasseh. And he's talking about Manasseh, saying, this is the Bechor, this is the firstborn one. And Jacob says, I know what I'm doing. This one that you want me to put the hand on, also he will be a people and he will be big. However, his little boy, the one my hand is on, his little brother, he will be bigger than him. V'zar'o yihyeh malo hagoyim, and his seed will be a fullness of the nations.
When he says the Hakaton, is he referring to Ephraim or Manasseh?
Ephraim hakaton, the little one.
Oh, okay.
And little one usually is a way of saying the younger, even though there are some families where the little one is bigger than the older one.
Like in mine.
So this is the Achiv Hakaton, the little
What's
brother,
the menu?
from him, that he's going to be bigger than him. The little one will be bigger than the older one. And his seed will be Malo Hagoyim, a fullness of the nations. Malay is full. Remember, this is a story of the northern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Ephraim. The kingdom of Joseph, which later prophets say Joseph in one part of their poem and then say Ephraim in the other part. They're talking about the northern kingdom. So Ephraim will grow to be the name upon which all of the tribes of the north are united under. And Manasseh is going to be a group, but they're going to be a group like the other groups that are not Ephraim. So this is the predictive statement by Jacob rather, in his blessing of Joseph, and by blessing Joseph, blessing Ephraim and Manasseh. This is clearly, I would say, a northern kingdom, an Ephraimite story, because this is the elevation of Ephraim, not only above his older brother, but above all of his uncles. Because Ephraim will be the lead nation, the lead tribe, the lead group among all of the 10 tribes in the north. Again, either a predictive statement or a reflective statement by the person telling the story who already knows the outcome, and now justifies the outcome as being because that's what God said through Jacob, God wanted of Ephraim. Verse 20, and now finally, Vayivarachem bayom hahu lemor, Becha yivarech Yisrael lemor, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe, Vayasem et Ephraim lifnei Menashe. Verse 20, Vayivarachem, and he blessed them. Vayivarech, and he blessed hem, them. So he blessed them, that is the two of them, with his hands crossed, with his right hand on the younger and his left hand on the older, with a whole long story about the blessing of the older and the younger. Whereas in the red story, this entire 20 verses took up one verse, where he said he blessed Ephraim and Manasseh, with no explanation, because it was the southern story and they didn't really care. This is the northern story, and it's crucial to their Ephraimite identity that they make clear why Ephraim is the predominant tribe. So he blessed them Bayom Hahu, in that day. So right then and there, that's the Bayom Hahu. On that day, in that right there and then, he blessed them, Lemor, saying, and here now we finally get to the blessing. Becha Yivarech Yisrael, in you, and singular. He's talking about both of them, Vayivarchem, he blessed them, and he said, Becha, in you, Yivarech Yisrael. So in you, each of you, singular, or in you specifically Ephraim, singular, but not in both of you, even though both are going to be named. Becha Yivarech Yisrael, and now in you will be named, will bless Yisrael. So in you will bless Yisrael. Here is this Yisrael, me, talking about Jacob himself in the third person. Or is this again the statement from much later when in the northern kingdom, the standard blessing of the Yisrael was to bless their children in the name of Ephraim and Manasseh? So is this the justification for a ritual which in fact is already known to the author?
Is he saying
And
in
you will be
Israel?
blessed.
Could it be in you, Israel will be blessed?
No, because Yivarech is active.
Oh,
In you, Israel will bless. And this is what Israel will say when they bless. Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chim Nasha. Yisimcha will put you, Elohim. So Elohim will put you, literally, like Ephraim and like Manasseh. And we don't know what God is putting in the blessing. So often translate, God will bless you like Ephraim and Manasseh. God will make you like Ephraim and Manasseh, but it's not oseh, it's lasim, to put. So in you, saying in you, God will put, or God will put you. God will put you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And then the comment after the blessing, Vayasem Ephraim lifnei Manasseh, and he put Ephraim before Manasseh. He put the younger before the older.
What's
One of
Lifnei?
the, yes.
Really
We'll take some questions and then
What's Lifnei?
Lifnei before. Vayasem, he put Ephraim before Manasseh.
Is that an adverb?
So sure.
So it always looks like that?
Yes. Lifnei, literally to the face of.
When was
So
the word Israel
blessing is
used?
said over girls as well as boys today, right?
No,
Girls didn't count.
this is said over boys, and in blessing of girls, it's usually God will put you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. So often, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chim Nasha, God will put you or make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And then, oh girls, it says, Simcha Elohim, v'yisimech Elohim kesara Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel, and God will put you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah.
When was Israel used for the name of a people or a place? Not a place, but a people.
So Bnei Yisrael becomes Yisrael somewhere back in this period in which this is being, prior to when this is being written down, and after it's being supposedly happening.
So here we're saying Israel as a people?
A people, nation, place. So Yisrael has different name meanings depending on who's using it and when it's being used. So when the northern kingdom and southern kingdom are divided, the southern kingdom is called Yehuda and the northern kingdom becomes Yisrael. But when they're divided, the whole thing becomes Yisrael.
Say that again, when they're divided or when they're united?
When there are two places, they each
When
have
there are
a
two
king. When
places, they're
divided,
Yehuda and
Israel wins.
Yisrael.
Yeah.
When they're united, they're one place, Yisrael, not Yehuda.
So is this the first place that we have seen the word Yisrael used as a people?
Yes,
Yeah.
because this is the first time we're talking about the future. Although Abraham is going to be told that get that prediction about the 400 years much earlier.
What was that?
Abraham, when it says that your descendants will be down in Egypt for 400 years, but God will remember them and bring them back up. That's way back earlier in Genesis. So the question that would be asked traditionally is, why do we bless our children in the name of Ephraim and Manasseh? Why not bless them in the name of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov?
Why do we?
And one of the answers is because that's what they were doing in the Northern Kingdom. Because the Northern Kingdom was the Ephraimite, the Ephraim tribe that was in charge of everybody else. And so therefore, it's basically, God will make all of you, as we've united everybody, just like Ephraim, but will give lip service to his big brother who becomes the lesser. And maybe it was a political statement giving the Manassites something that they could join with the Ephraimites to unite the tribes into what might have become the Northern Kingdom. But the commentary is, why not bless in the name of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? Because Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were brothers who did not get along with their brothers. Each of them had a brother that was not in good sibling relationship. The first generation of boys who got along beautifully in sibling relationship were Ephraim and Manasseh. Prior to that, every set of brothers fought amongst themselves, going all the way back to Cain and Abel. Now, for the first time, brothers get along really nicely. Of course, that's because their mother wasn't Jewish.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so the commentary is, why do all of the people of Israel, all the Jews, bless their sons in the name of Ephraim and Manasseh? The answer, the easy, simple answer, is because that's what the Torah tells us here in Genesis. Jacob said, all of Israel will bless you. So therefore, that was a mandate Jacob set. However, if this is an explanation for why we're already doing it, then we need to know why we are already doing it. And so one of the most common explanations, the Midrash, is that Ephraim and Manasseh did not go into sibling rivalry over firstbornness. Because notice, when Jacob puts his hands on the so-called wrong heads, the boys don't protest. The boys simply sit there and say, okay, we're ready. It's their dad who protests. So the boys are teaching their father a lesson. And finally, this story will conclude next week. and then go back to picking up where the red story left. And once again, as you'll see when you're reading the end of chapter 48 and then jump into chapter 49, Jacob is dead at the end of chapter 48, and Jacob is alive at the beginning of chapter 49.
Well, huh?
Chapter 48 finishes the story and Jacob's dead. Chapter 49 picks up the previous story and now has to get Jacob dead. And from the flow of when they're put together, we have to have commentary to explain all of this back and forth between dead and alive. Probably at the end of chapter 48 and beginning of chapter 49, Jacob is in a quantum state inside a box that was built by Schrodinger. And until we collapse the story into chapter 48 and 49, he's both dead and alive. But that's just modern physics. All right. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, Hine anochi met, v'haya Elohim imachem, v'heshiv etchem el eretz avotechem. 22. Va'ani natati lecha shchem achad al achecha, asher lakachti miyad ha'emori, v'charbi uvakashti. We'll puzzle over that last statement of the chapter 48 next week. 49. Vayikra Yaakov el banav, vayomer he'asfu va'agida lachem et asher yikra etchem ba'acharit hayamim. 2. Hikavtsu v'shim'u b'nei Yaakov v'shim'u el Yisrael avichem. 3. Now we begin the blessings of each of the sons individually. Reuven bechori, ata kochi, v'reshit oni, yeter se'et v'yeter az. 4. Pachaz kamayim al totar ki alita mishkevei avicha az chilalta yitzui Allah. And now 5. Shimon v'Levi achim k'lei chamas mecherotehem. 6. Besodam al tavo nafshi bikhala al tehar kvodi ki va'apam hargu ish uvirtsonam ikru shor. So we're getting rid of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi next week.
When I sent the thing about the